everyone, welcome to the start of our makeup series. So this is just going to be going over different makeup styles and looks, techniques on how you can get those styles, but also with anecdotal advice as well on figuring out what makeup works for you. So to start off with, I have cleaned and moisturized my face. I have to moisturize my face because I have a dry face with only like a little bit of oil that likes to gather here and maybe here. But otherwise, my face ends up really dry, especially during winter. So I just use a good face moisturizer, and you actually should be moisturizing the entirety of your face. I did not realize this when I was learning how to do makeup and stuff like that. So you even need to moisturize your eyelids. If you don't already know that, now you know, but if you already did, just reinforcing it. But also, there are different face types. So there's oily, there's dry, there's combination, and so on. But I've already moisturized, so we're gonna go ahead and start off with eyeshadow primer. This stuff is your best friend. It's going to keep your makeup from transferring too much, and also just keep it and let it stay. I have eyelids where if I don't have this, the eyeshadows will end up on top of each other when I don't want them to. Not everybody has that kind of eye type. There are different eye types as well. But yes, so use this to where you're going to be putting all of the eyeshadow. I like to put some on and then spread it around with my finger. It just makes it easier because the angle of the brush to fit into the tube is not always conducive to being able to put on your eyelid. Now, I will say good eyeshadow primer. Alright, I happen to use Urban Decay's. By the way, none of this is sponsored or anything like that. This is just what I use. Everybody's going to use something different because certain products work differently for other people. So, and I have tried a few other primers. This is just usually my go-to, also because it's tiny and travel sized. But yeah, so this is just a primer potion, as they like to call it, and a little bit more. But with this technique, I know I'm getting far more coverage, and I know I'm not making it too thick, because at least for me, I don't want it too thick, otherwise at least for me, it makes my eyelids feel like they're kind of gonna glue together, because this is a primer. This is a primer that helps eyeshadow stick to your eyelids. Alright, okay, now, got it primed. I'm gonna let it dry a little, but while that is happening, I'm gonna be going over the colors. I'm not really gonna be able to angle this too much because one of the eyeshadows has decided to break, so they're kind of loose instead of pressed right now. But I'm gonna be using the Take Me Back to Brazil eyeshadow palette. It's got a lot of vibrant colors. What you're going to want to do for this, pick out the colors that you want first. I will post a picture here pointing out the different colors that I'm going to be using. But for this Valentine's Day look, I'm going with more of a pink, though mind you, this can be any color you want. to go with your outfits or just to have fun with. But I'm just going with traditional pink. So with the way eyeshadows work for at least my eyes, I go with a lighter color, usually on the inside to about halfway, and then I'll do a medium or darker color in here on the outside. But so that can just be for your everyday look. When you want more of a glitz and glam look for in the evening, then I'm going to show you how to turn it into a smoky eye. But alright, so first things first, I actually like to start with my brow bone. So I highlight this area just so there's a bit more color, less shadow. I'm going to be doing this shimmery kind of ish white color, and I just dab a little bit, dab a little bit, and then I spread it. When you get into a lot more elaborate eyeshadows, then you sometimes like also bring it down into here. But for now, we're just like going to be highlighting all of our eyeshadow. And as you can see, it's not extremely bright. It's just something that'll help create a like entire masterpiece, I should say. Alrighty. Then I like to clean my brush of the color on my hand, so that way I am not ruining any of the other colors or adding more on, which, by the way, I am just using a regular shadow brush, so something that is like soft. You don't want anything stiff for this, and something that will pick up color. Alrighty, and now I'm going to go for a very light kind of blush pink. So I've got the color on, and to make sure I don't have like too much or excess, I tap it on my finger into where I picked up the color, so that way it'll all be there. But then, as I said, do a little bit in the inner corner, and I pull it up close to the middle. I know some people say that you should like bring it all the way across, but then I feel like you're not able to get the other colors that you layer on top to stick as well, even with your finishing spray. So I like to layer them by doing them at different sections. But once again, this is just how I do it. Everybody's different. Everybody's got a different style, because no two faces are exactly the same. Like for instance, oh yep, and then you see like sometimes you have stuff like that where you go a little further than you originally planned, but that's okay. That's okay. Let's just bring that a little further over here, so that way as even as they can be. But yeah, so anyway, not everybody's face is the same. I, for instance, have I believe almond eyes. They're on the smaller side, but I also have a partially hooded lid as well as like having the dip here. So for instance, a lot of my, as I said earlier, eyeshadows from down here can end up transferring up here, so I do a different style of eyeshadow application than other people. I also have to have a specific kind of eyeliner. I will get to that when I get to that stage. Nobody's face is exactly the same, so you've got to experiment, figure out what works for you, and later on, if you guys do like the idea, I can show you like how two different styles of how the eyeshadow is put on can give a different appearance on the face and stuff like that. Alrighty, now I'm going with just a slightly brighter pink because this is for more of like a daytime look. So if you want a daytime look for Valentine's Day that's still good enough and professional enough to wear at work, that'll do you well, that would just be wonderful in general. Once again, I tap to make sure there's not too much. As you can see, it is very, well, I say like brighter, and it is, it's very bright. All right, I am now applying it on the outer corner, and I'm bringing it inward. So that way there's not too much intensity where it's going to blend. It's okay if it's more, at least in my opinion. I understand there are different looks. So like some looks, they do have it more intense in the middle. I prefer to have the intensity on the outside corner. And I brush and dab on the eyeshadows because I feel it gives enough coverage. Once again, I do a lot of dabbing when it comes to this, but once again, not everybody's the same. There are different techniques, different styles, and you gotta find what works for you. I think this works for me. I get a lot of really good results, and I get a lot of really good looks as well. Alrighty, how's this look? We could probably bring it a little bit further. Just pick up the excess that I tapped off. And that is another reason why you want to tap the excess off, is it's easier to put more on, not take less off. There are ways of lessening the intensity of a color. It's just you're going to be putting on a lot more eyeshadow than you originally planned if you do too much. So that's another reason why you tap the excess off, is so you can just tap your brush onto it like once to pick up a little bit of the remnants and spread it across your eye. So now this looks a little harsh, so what I'm going to do is get out a blending brush. So there are two kinds of blending brushes. If you want something more gentle, you go for a super fluffy brush. If you want something that will do it a little bit more, then you go for a shorter but still fluffy brush. So to just show you the differences between the two, but both of them are considered blending brushes. All right, so I'm gonna start with this one because it's, once again, it's a little harsher than I wanted. So I'm going to bring this much brighter pink inward, because once again, I'm going for a gradient, and that's kind of the look you want in general when you're doing more than one colors. You want either a gradient, like I'm trying to do, or you want the colors to just blend sort of naturally. There's some looks where you do want them specifically separated, but otherwise you usually try to have less harsh divide between the colors. Alrighty. So do we see the difference? This is a lot less harsh now than over here. So once again, this is a little more blended. This one's a little more sharp, so we're going to come over here. Now I'm going with the, as I said, I went with the shorter one because I wanted a bit more blending than the softer one will give. And it not only blends the area where the two colors overlap, it'll also blend the colors in general. So it goes from a less brighter pink to getting a little more subtle. But if you guys would like, I would love to hear what you guys do when you're doing makeup look like this. And do you have like a variety of brushes? Are you able to pull it off with just a few brushes? Because sometimes I can pull off a look with only like 3 brushes, and other times I need an entire army's worth of brushes. And that is not easy sometimes. Although I do admit, like, my main ones are usually this. It's called a large shadow brush. It usually covers a good half of my eyelid. And as I said, I have this standard eyeshadow brush and then the blender. But let's see here. Yeah, what kind of brushes do you have? Do you use? Are they ones that you got like from, or like the professional level, or are they just ones that you were able to find at like the dollar store and stuff like that? Because some of these I have found at like much cheaper stores and so on. So for instance, I know these eco tools that I found, I definitely got them from Five Below, and they do work wonders. And then some of these I got from a pack that's supposed to be like professional like level or something like that. And I don't use a whole lot of them. I use a good portion of them, but I don't use all of them because I just don't need it. So this can just be like your everyday look. Let me see here. You could probably use the fluffy brush to just kind of blend out here, because once again, you don't want like too many harsh lines. So yeah, there we go. I think that's good. Alrighty, but yeah, so this can be good for like everyday looks. So while you're at work, while you're just going out and about with friends and stuff like that, or you just want something casual, this is a very casual eyeshadow. Now, if you want to take it up a notch, make it all glam, then you would add like the darkest shade you want to go. And when you do that, you're going to be doing it in a sort of like V shape to get a hooded eye look. The darkest pink I think I'm willing to go is this one. So if like how my eyeshadows are is, you will see in the image, is going downward in columns. So for like the first color, I did the top of column 1, and then the second color was the third of column 1, so the third down. So I guess we could say column 1 row 3 for the first one, column 1 row 1 for the first one, and column 1 row 3 for the second one. So for the next one, I'm going really bold, and I'm going column 2 row 2. It's really harsh, so guys, I wanted to do a very dark. It almost takes over the other pink I've done, so I may go back and reapply a bit more of the other one. You can see the difference in the intensity. So for this one, because it is more of a smoky eyeshadow, and what I may do is I may add just like a bit of black to make it a little darker. So I'm going in with more of my fluffy brush for this one. And I'm just moving back and forth in order to spread it out. I want this to be a little less blended, still blended, but just a smidgen less. Let's see, how does that look? Yeah, we may want to add a little bit more of the other color. Bring it a little more this way. Because otherwise we're going very, very bright already. But I need to switch back to the other color for that. Anyway, so skin types. There's a lot of them. As I said, there is dry, there is oily, and there is combination. I'm mostly dry, a little bit of oily, mostly around my nose. So taking care of your skin is very important. You really have to experiment to find out what works for you. Not one product or one technique or solution works for everyone. There's just no way, because everyone is different, everyone is unique, and it all depends on your skin, hormones, and so much more. So don't limit yourself to what for them. You need to try it out and see if it will really work for you. If you can get a sample size, that is awesome. But if you can't, maybe see if somebody else could use what you've bought if you can't use it. Because I have bought a few things where it's like, oh, this is not working. This is definitely not working for me. And it's bad. It's kind of bad. But yes, so for instance, I loved using charcoal face masks and face scrubs to clean my face. However, using them too often ended up actually making me break out instead of lessening my breakout. So apparently, depending on your skin type, if you use charcoal-based like skin cleansers, they can take out too much of the important oils that you naturally produce, and therefore your face starts breaking out. I started breaking out around here because I was using them way too frequently. And we only found out it was probably a bad thing after another friend of mine started breaking out and was curious as to why. But yeah, you have to experiment, you have to see what will work for you. No one thing works for everybody. Also the same thing with like just hygiene in general. For instance, I can't wash my face every day, or I can't intensely wash my face every day. Otherwise, I will strip too many oils that my face naturally tries to produce and dry out my skin. Now that may be different for somebody who has oily skin, and so like they do need to wash their face every day. But that saying you should wash your face every morning does not work for me. Don't know if it's the same for like all you anybody else who has dry skin. If you do have dry skin and it does work for you, let us know like what you do to like not stress out and overstrip the oils from your face, because that would always be good advice. This can also be an area for sharing advice and stuff that has worked for other people. Mind you, at least once again, I'm no expert. I am somebody who just is pretty decent with makeup, because I like to every once in a while try out a look. I also do cosplaying, so I also do some cosplay makeup looks. That's going to be coming around, or hopefully I can get some of those done around Halloween. We'll see. But yeah, it's just, I'm no professional, but I think this is a very good space for people to share like experiences and what does work for them and what works for other people and so on. Alrighty, so I've pulled the color a little further in. So I'm gonna move back over to the darker pink that I've decided to use, picking up the excess that I tapped off. Still gonna tap a little more off, just in case. What would that be? Just a tap and on. Alright. Going to use the fluffy brush to blend it. Some people would consider this a smoky eye look. I at least do, because I'm bringing the color downward and just creating quite the intensity. Or at least it seems intense to me. If anybody has any advice on smoky eye look, we're willing to listen. Once again, leave your comments. Tell us what you think of this video. Should we do more in this series? And not like, I would like to continue the series. I would love to be able to share my experiences with makeup. Because I'll be honest, I did not always like makeup. Not even a little bit. There's so many anecdotal stories I can give. Also, anybody else signed up with a very colorful hand during all of this? Because I do. I like to make sure that the brush is pretty clear of the color before I move on to the next one, as I've said. But yeah, so this is a bit of what we've got. Now, let's see here. Now, another thing that we can do is we can take, I don't usually do this, but we can take another fluffy brush, we know is clean, and we can pick up, once again, because we want this to be a little bit more glam. We don't have like a whole lot of sparkle going on, so what you can do, we're actually going to get the sparkle from a different palette. This one is one that I got from Five Below, called the Beauty Book, and this one I can at least like bring it up. I'm thinking we can go for, let me get a different angle. This first one right here, have the excess off. Actually, it doesn't look like I picked up too much. So I'm gonna go a little more. Yes, we are going for a bit of glam. Tap off the excess. And get some of this glitter over here. The color in the corner with that whitish color. But yes, I have many stories about makeup. Like, I think, if I recall correctly, the first experience I had with makeup was when I was really young. I must have been, I may have been 3, maybe. But I remember I was really young, walking around, forget if it was one of my family members' home, and my aunt, she's beautiful. She is in charge of a hairstylist place in another state, and she's very good with makeup and stuff like that. So me being the curious little girl that I was, asked her what was all of that on her face. She took me to the bathroom, put lipstick on me. I forget if she did any eyeshadow. I just remember the lipstick, and then I was like super excited. I ended up running up to my mother and going, "Look at me!" And my mother turned and looked at my aunt going, "What did you do to her? Get that off her face." So yeah, that was my first experience with makeup that I can recall. Alrighty. So we have gotten the glitter onto the inner part. Now we're going to add a bit here, because we don't just want everything to be here on the inner corner. We also want this to pop. So because we were saying we wanted it to be a little bit more smoky, we can, let's see here, sorry. We can try and do a purple, get more of like a smoky, or we can do black. Oh yeah, and this like has the instructions for pulling off the smoky eye, but once again, I have a different technique of doing it, and everybody does. Everybody has their own way of how they pull off their look. You just gotta experiment. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's very important to realize everyone needs to find their way and their style through makeup, through the experimentation. So let's see here. All right, we're gonna try and pull this off. We're gonna try and pull this off with the black. I didn't pick up that much. I only picked up a little bit, but if we dab it on, same way that we did for first applying our darkest shade, then how does that look when you compare the two? Now mind you, it's not blended, so taking the blending brush, I say blendy, but blending, and just sweep it towards the center of your eye in that V shape, going a little bit down like the crease area, but otherwise, there we go. Yep, see, just adding that little bit of black, just a little bit. Makes it, I shouldn't say harsh, but it adds a little bit more depth to it. So once again, just a little bit. May have to pick up a little more, kind of depends. Don't worry, we'll clean up this area right here. Due to being right-handed, sometimes the shape on either side looks slightly different, and that is okay. It's perfectly fine. It's normal. Completely normal. Alrighty, so just blend it a little bit. Blend it a little bit. Alrighty. And there we go, I think. Smoky eye look. There we go. We have the smoky eye look. We've got a subtle bit of glitter on the inside, and the darker colors on the outside. Alrighty. Okay, now One of the reasons why some people like to do eyeshadow first instead of their foundation is sometimes the eyeshadow does fall from the brush onto the cheek area. And also if they want a cleaner finish here that doesn't go past the area that they want, and they didn't do the tape method, then this makes it easier to clean it up. So when you compare the two sides, so this, it's a little harsh right now, but I am going to be applying eyeliner. And then this side, as I said, the eyeshadow, the difference happens because I'm right-handed trying to paint, or well, not paint, but apply on the left side of my face. So I usually like to follow the direction of my lower eyelid to clean it up. Another reason why I need to moisturize my face before doing anything is because, like, because sometimes I have to pre-wash my face, and if you do it a little too harshly, when you go to remove all the eyeshadow that has fallen here, it ends up stinging a little, which is not fun. Alright, so I usually, not a whole lot of people, some people can apply eyeliner perfectly fine, just like following their eye. I can't. I need a little mini compact in order to make sure that I am getting this right. Alrighty, so because of how far I have brought out the makeup, I'm probably going to do my eyeliner out that far. So, and I usually still also like to once again try and follow the direction that my lower eyelid creates here at the corner. And once again, you've got to experiment with what will work, because not all products are the same or react the same. So like, I have tried a bunch of different like liquid eyeliners, and unfortunately a lot of them transferred to the top of my lid because, like, either due to me sweating or just like too much moisture and stuff like that. And so I really needed a good eyeliner that would actually handle rubbing and so on. So I usually only get this specific one. Not everybody has to get this one. I just do because otherwise it'll transfer, and I don't want that even with a setting spray. So when I am applying eyeliner, it will vary, because sometimes I mess up this wing, and so I sometimes have to thicken it when I do. I also take my eyeliner all the way to the inner corner, because I feel like it's incomplete if I don't, because it's like there will be like a sudden stop right here. I have seen other people who have eyelids close to or similar to mine, where they only do eyeliner on this like outer corner, and then like a little bit on the inner corner, but they won't have any here, which that is perfectly fine, because that means they can wear like any eyeliner and it won't transfer because of it. I like having my eyeliner go all the way because you can at least see it while my eyes are open sometimes. But depending on if like I'm looking down or stuff like that, sometimes it'll transfer because my eyelid is touching the upper one. Or my lash line is touching the upper eyelid, I should say. Yeah, and see, stuff like that happens where it does a little bit of that, so try and correct it a little. It's not too bad though. Alrighty, now we're going to finish off with our mascara. Going to try and remove some of the excess. I don't always curl my eyelashes, but that's because my eyes are small, and sometimes using the eyelash curler is a pain, and it doesn't curl all of my lashes properly. Anybody else have that problem? Am I the only one? Let me know down in the comments. Don't like to do a whole lot, or maybe this is a lot. It kind of depends. Usually like to start at the tips of my eyelashes and then work my way down. Although for some reason, at least in my opinion, I always believe like my left eyelashes turn out better than the right. Don't ask me why. I have that thought, but it does. Alright, almost there. Yeah, you can see them. Alrighty, then last but not least, I'm gonna do a lip. I will talk about foundation another time. This one was just to focus on eyes for Valentine's Day. Once again, you can do this with any color that you want to do. It doesn't have to be pink. So I am using, for my lips, smudge proof and long lasting, which I agree this does. I have eaten like 2-3 meals with this, usually lasting, unless I don't mix it after it's been sitting around for a while. Then it will kind of flake off. So I usually try to move the applicator around and also shake it, usually smacking it against my palm. Alright, now, depending on the look, once again, you may want to go for a subtler lip color, which is what I'm going for, more neutral. Applying a thin layer, because this doesn't need, at least this one. And the one I'm using, if you guys really want it, is the NYX Lingerie Double XL. I have found that it works for me. Once again, this product may not work for everyone, but it at least works for myself. So it's what I use. Go around. Oop, you've done too much. And that's okay if you do. You can either use your finger or your facial wipes to take care of it. Alrighty. But yeah, so I'm using a more neutral shade because all the attention is going to my eyes. And I really like it. Alright, and then last but not least, going with the setting spray. So I got a long-lasting makeup one, which is supposed to last up to 16 hours of wear. And it's also water and sweat proof, which yes it is. My makeup has held up pretty well, and I went swimming using this. So it's always suggested that you do an X and a T. Depending on my mood, I will sometimes do the T first, then the X. But otherwise, whichever works for you. And voila! Here is the completed look. Once again, if you like what I did, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let us know if you want more, if there's a certain look you want, and also just if not, just to say hi. But this is the completed look, and I would love to do more looks for you guys and talk more about like taking care of your skin, your face, and just your general beauty well-being. All right, because this is not limited to just one person. This can be open to anybody who's interested in makeup. Makeup is a way of expressing yourself and just letting people see what you would like them to see or experience. Like, I love bringing character looks to life. It's one of the reasons why I like cosplay and why I do makeup. And then there are like other people who just feel like their best self when they are wearing makeup. There are others who just want to do it because it's fun, and yeah, it can be fun. It can also be frustrating, but it can be fun. But yes, so I hope we get to see you again, and that you have a good and wonderful Valentine's Day. And let us know if you decide to do this look or a variation of the look, whether it be color or style. Anyway, have a good day, everyone. Bye.